Right, everyone. So welcome to our Bay of Plenty session for tonight. And like previously, these are open to everyone around the country. Do we have anyone who's not from the Bay of Plenty with us tonight? Just you can raise your hand or use the function in the top. Okay, so potentially just mainly Bay of Plenty. So for you that don't know me, I'm Lizzie Turnbull. I'm the CEO of New Zealand Pony Club, and I'm actually from the Bay of Plenty. So I'm at the other end. I'm in Katikati. So it's a region where I've been to Pony Club as a rider, also been a Pony Club DC, Pony Club president, and now have this amazing role at New Zealand Pony Club. Joining me tonight, I've got Dana. Dana, do you want to introduce yourself? Dana, sorry.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dina Wells. I'm based in the Waikato. I'm a member of the board. Previously, I've been a very competitive horse rider, growing up through the pony club scene, got to be lucky enough to represent New Zealand, and then now supported my daughter through the pony club system as well, and hence that got me back into the role of president, then DC, and then eventually now a board member. So pretty passionate about pony club. Think that it's pretty cool, and this is a pretty cool opportunity for me, and it's great that I get to meet all you guys and get to see you, and hopefully I'll see you at conference and catch up there in person.
Excellent. Yeah, we must say we're loving going around the country from our own homes and meeting everyone. It's great to engage. And just before we start, every area in New Zealand is completely different. And if you do want to look at some of the differences, all of the webinars are online that we've done so far. Do we have any questions before we start? If you do have questions at time, you've either got the raise hand function, and Dana will be keeping an eye on that, or we've got, just stop us and ask us your questions this evening. And we may have another board member, Kelly, joining us a little. Oh, Kelly's here now. Kelly, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. Sorry I'm a bit late. Just had a few dogs to feed. Anyway, yeah, I'm from Central Otago. I'm a head coach, and obviously I've got two young riders. Yeah, we're fully in the pony club system basically. So yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen, and what we're sharing with you tonight is a proposal, and it's all the modelling is just based on examples of what we're proposing could look like. And as I said before, I've got a little bit of knowledge about the Bay of Plenty, having done all of my time as an adult in the Bay of Plenty and riding for Tauranga for a few years. So what's on tonight? Our purpose of our sessions tonight and over this course of this month is to recap the proposal of a structural review of New Zealand Pony Club. We're currently a 3 to 4 layer organisation, and we're proposing to formalise that and have a 3-layer organisation, and that is to happen alongside the updating of the Constitution. As I said, it's only a proposal. We'd like to discuss with you what your area would look like under the proposal of a 3-layer organisation versus the 4-layer. We'd like to share the process of a timeline if a change to the structure was voted in by the members in the National AGM, and what it means for you guys, as in how do we get to that point, how do we get to the decision, and what say do you have? We'd like to share the process and timeline for updating the Constitution, because I'm just going to ask people to mute if there's noise in the background.
Keyboarded it up as well, and I can't see what else to do. I've been out and back in again.
Someone needs to
physically how?
Sorry. And then share the process and timeline for updating the Constitution alongside the Incorporated Societies Act. So this is absolutely a consultation phase. So this is a proposal that is being put to our areas at our area forum way back in Feb. And then we shared it with our members in our introduction webinars in March. And then it's now a little more consultation in May. And we need your feedback. We need your feedback to decide if this is the direction that New Zealand Pony Club goes, or is this not the direction that we're going for. Your feedback will help shape what we look like. And for us, what does success look like at New Zealand Pony Club? Well, for us, success is Pony Club is thriving. And I have to say straight off the bat, Pony Club is doing well. Even though there are clubs and branches that always go through the process of getting smaller or closing, Pony Club's in a real cycle. And interesting enough, this year, Bay of Plenty went from mid 400s last year for annual figures to I think 511. It was about a 40 member increase, so that was really amazing. So it depends where you are and it depends what it looks like. So for us, we're looking at Pony Club is thriving. We're looking at the same or more kids achieving. That's through certificates, going to Pony Club, going to events. We're looking at it being committees are full, and you're not struggling to get people to fill the roles. And we're looking at potentially at one less meeting, because I can imagine you're all on lots of committees, and that's one of our drivers. So tonight, so our goal of the meeting is like when Kelly and I were working on the introductory webinars, because the board have been living the incorporated society changes since we got the first notification last year, and then we got the first draft template in September, October, and we started working on this in November. We realized that we had quite abstract ideas of what a structural review could look like, and I'll go into details of why we're doing this review now. And we realized it was really something difficult to vote on, so it felt quite conceptual. So this session is designed to help what it could look like and what these could mean for your day-to-day operations, any decision-making authorities, any event coordination and delivery, any communication and reporting lines, and how we at NZPCA, that's the head office where I am, or the board would support our volunteers and members, because you guys are our biggest asset, our members, our volunteers.
I'll just jump in there for a sec, Lizzie, as well. This is obviously quite hard to get something that fits everyone. So we've got to have flexibility within the structure of the constitution, because every single area is different, and what they want and what they prefer is different. So therefore, that's why we've probably, it is a bit conceptual and it is a bit difficult to grasp. But once hopefully we've gone through this, everyone will have a bit more of a clearer idea.
Yeah, and we're asking for questions. If you, after the fact, still want a bit more clarity, I have groups, either one-on-one groups or people just ringing and having a conversation, and I'm available for that. So that's so the Constitution review. Did you, or Kelly or Dana, did you want to do this slide? One of you.
Rightio. Okay, so the review obviously had to be the constitution review had to be done to ensure that we comply with the Act, the 2022 New Incorporated Societies Act. So that basically meant that we did have to rewrite our whole constitution. The current constitution was not going to cut it at all. There was some quite big changes to clauses that meant that it was just a basic rewrite of it. Our constitution is pretty key to our whole organisation, because it outlines our purposes and our powers, and obviously it also outlines our membership types and how we do voting. Our purposes of New Zealand Pony Club are really important, because that's what filters down to every other level, and also that's what we're funded on. We're funded on our purposes. We're a youth organisation. Education's key to that. Horse welfare is key. Those are the attributes that need to be at the forefront of this whole constitution review. And so, yeah, that's really where we've got to around this. And this is a draft. This is a draft, and it's for discussion, and we need your feedback. And we kind of need your feedback sooner rather than later, because the time frame, is condensed. And we really want to reflect on what you guys as our members, what you want. We want to try and incorporate that into the Constitution.
Excellent. This is not, though, an exhaustive list of the rules and regulations. The general regulations, membership regulations, exam regulations, event regulations, they all sit outside of the Constitution, because the Constitution is a document we don't want to update very often. But the regulations update as new syllabus come in for certificates, or this year for eventing champs, we added new, we changed the criteria for national qualifying scores for teams and things. So that is why they go into our regulations. Okay, excellent. And I think I just need to reiterate there that what Kelly said is we wouldn't be doing this unless we had to, because of the Incorporated Societies Act of 2022 came in, and it's coming in to safeguard members and volunteers. So that's just a really big, important thing. Okay, next slide. So this is our key change timeline. And of course, we started way back in October, November. We had a board meeting. We went out and we actually discussed it in areas really informally as well, and had conversations. In February, we had our our area forum in February, and your area president came down, Jenny, and that's where it was presented to the areas to go back and have little conversations. And now we've had our webinars, and now we're in May. And so this is the discussion where if we were to go to a 3-layer structure for everyone in New Zealand, of New Zealand Pony Club, what would it look like? And as Kelly said, this is full consultation. You guys, unfortunately, are at our end of May sessions, where I opened up my whole life for the whole month to be consultation, and can only fit in so many Monday, Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays. So we have our board meeting on the 5th of June. Now, what we need is, for that 5th of June meeting, is the feedback that's telling us, do our members, do our individual members. This is not the club view. This is not the branch view. This is not the area view. This is every single 27 person on this call, even the people that aren't on this call. What do they think? Should New Zealand Pony Club look at a 3-layer structural system, or do you want to wish to remain with the current layers, which is 3 to 4, depending on what you're currently operating on? And as I said earlier, you've always been able to merge, you've always been able to close, you've always been able to Te Kuiti districts, I'll use them as an example. They used to have 8 branches and as a district, and now they're just one club of Te Kuiti with different venues. That has always been an option constitutionally. So our 5th of June board meeting is when the board are going to go, does the membership support? Yes, we continue on, and that's what the Constitution will look like, or no, it doesn't, and we'll present a constitution based on our current system. So that is really, really important. At that meeting, they'll decide. The results of the surveys will be published, and all the feedback, even breaking down to areas. And on the 1st of July, 1st or 2nd of July, has to be before the 3rd, 1 month out from our national AGM, you will be sent out the Constitution in its final form that will be voted on in August. And this will be really dependent on the feedback, if it's 3 layers or 4 layers. We've got our, that will be the time that is your committee, so your branches, if you're a club with branches, you'll decide and go, what do we want our club to vote on? Because at the AGM, clubs get up to 3 votes depending on their writing members' numbers, and they vote on what the branches want. Clubs without branches vote on what their members want, and then the area votes on the majority. So that's in that July frame. That is a normal time frame for this type of thing. This is like when we also used to vote on remits, which are constitutional changes, board elections, and anything like that. And I know in the room I've got Nigel, so Nigel will be an expert on that because we both served on the Bay Committee many years ago. So that's just a normal motion at your normal monthly meeting, deciding. So all the Tauranga branches will tell Tauranga how to vote. All of the Taupo branches will do the same. Te Poki will just decide themselves, and then the area will ask. If you can't come to the AGM as a club, so it's open to all clubs and area, if you can't come to the AGM, you will have the opportunity to postal vote, electronic vote to me. I'm the returning officer, and that's strictly confidential, of course. But at the AGM, and we're going to talk about that at the conference, we're going to have really practical, user-friendly resources for clubs and branches. So if you're sitting there going, oh, it's not worth it, I can definitely tell you, conference is going to be worth it. The timetable is looking amazing. Talking to people and saying, what do you want? How can I get you there? Can I do a funding application for you? No, I'm not doing it. Can I write you a letter for your funding application? Okay, so we've got to the AGM and it's a vote, and it's either, yep, it's voted in, or no, it's not. Hopefully it's voted in because, of course, we've used the feedback that you've given us and presented what you want. And then we'll be submitting it to the incorporated societies. If we're going for a 3-layer structure at the AGM, and from that point onwards, even slightly before, we'll start working with checklists. What could it look like for you? Because we don't want to come in and go, you must do this. We want you to just tell us what works best for your area. And I know we've got a little bit of feedback about that going, why don't you just tell us what you want? Because as Kelly said earlier, we don't know we don't know what your roading's like. We don't know about your council leases. We don't know about if you feel like you can go it by yourself if you're a branch and you're going to go to that club. So that's why this is so important. And basically, October to March, it would be your SGMs voting in your new constitutions, having them checked by NZPCA. People are saying, why do you need to check? Because currently the only things that can change with a constitution is if the board approves it. So some of you have come to the board previously and said, we want a quorum reduction from 5 to 7, and that has to be approved from the board. In this situation, a big change in this constitution, no matter what structure we take, there's only needing to be 10 members, where it's currently 15, of which 8 must be adults, inferring that 7 must be children. This is a 10 constitution, so we haven't yet decided if it's 5 and 5, but there would be wriggle room. So if you're a club and you're in a phase of, you haven't got 5 junior members, but you know that you can get there eventually, we might say, okay, you can have 3 and 7. So that would be the checking process there. And then on the 5th of April, the new incorporated societies must be submitted. And if we're doing a structural change, we'd have a nationwide kind of gypsy day that everything could happen. So that's the timeline. We can come back to it as well. Are there any questions so far?
Sorry, Lizzie, so you said with the 10 members, it would be 3 adults, is that right? And 7?
No, I don't know yet. I'm just saying that that has not been completely decided, but currently it's 15.
Yeah.
15 members, of which 8 have to be adults. It's written like that, inferring that 7 are meant to be kids, but because it's not written clearly, so whatever it is, it will be written clearly. But as I just said, I was speaking to the person who's been drafting this, and there will be room for negotiation, club, by club based on your situation, because I know in this room there's clubs when I first came in that were on 0, 1 or 2, and now they're thriving. And we don't, this is not about closing clubs. This is about working with you to get your club back and growing. And I know that clubs and branches are really dependent on the manpower and dependent who's at the helm and what the riders are up to at that time. And you all go through cycles of, sometimes you have a really strong senior group and then you suddenly lose them all and then you start growing again. So we're really flexible at looking at that, but it will be a number of 10. And you'll of course need adults, because you can't have under 18-year-olds on your committee. Good question. Okay, so currently this is the structure of New Zealand Pony Club. Kelly's from Central Otago, so that's why Clyde's there. And being from the Bay of Plenty, I was trying to figure out to show them the differences in structures. So we've got New Zealand Pony Club at the top. We've got 15 areas. Gets a bit mucky in the middle. We've got 87 clubs, but they come from a range of clubs with branches underneath or clubs without branches. Every time I say I'm going to fix that slide and I never get there, Kelly, I'll have to do it next week. And so in Kelly's situation, she's from Otago, Southland. Her club is Otago, Central Otago, and she's from the branch of Clyde. One thing we've noticed as we've gone around the country, and I'm sure you can say this with us, none of our kids go, I'm going to Pony Branch today. They all say, I'm going to Pony Club. So we're just kind of like trying to get that word. I'm going to Pony Branch. It's like, I'm going to Pony Club. So we're trying to get that idea of that where they go to the rally is their club. In the Bay of Plenty,
And also,
you know this.
And also just on that, Lizzie, I think a lot of the leases are actually held by the Pony Club, not the Pony Club branch. There's a lot of pony clubs that are branches but are referred to as clubs.
Yeah, councils around the country out of this are completely different. It's like, oh, okay. So I'll just keep going because you want to really get to the part where you can play. So this is all our areas, and as you can see, 15 of them, absolutely completely different size-wise, and that does not relate to the membership numbers. Yeah, you guys have got a massive area from Katikati in the Western Bay all the way out to Opotiki and all the way down to technically Turangi still. I know Turangi's not a branch anymore, but still membership in those categories way out there, all the way along. So massive. And really interesting, I never realised that Otago Southland had Stewart Island. There's no actual branch there. And that Melbourne Nelson West Coast went way down the West Coast. It was just phenomenal. But as we said, we don't know the roading anymore. And I've had over these discussions, many clubs saying to us in branches, can we move? And absolutely. If you feel you're in the wrong area, or later on, I've got a kind of radical idea for some areas being said to me, that's that time for discussion as well. And you can do that at any time, constitution, structural change or not. Okay. So while we've been doing this, these have been some of the common questions in this. If we were doing a structural change, will clubs lose their identity? There was a question. Sorry, I can't read the questions.
Isn't Taupo in the Waikato? We will come to that.
Yes, well,
later.
Yeah, well, technically, Waikato is under the facility review, and Taupo is in the Waikato. So that's a discussion, but we've got something else. Will clubs lose their identity? We're actually saying no. We're encouraging all clubs to retain their names unless you want to change it. I have an area in the South Island that want to change their name. They no longer want to be called Ashburton, South Canterbury, North Otago. It's a mouthful and everyone just goes Ascon. They want to be called Aoraki to be the name of their mountain. Up north, Monganui Club was the merger of Kaitaia and Awanui. South Otago, when it It was a club and its 3 branches just became venues. It kept its name, but they have venues at Owaka, Clinton and Balclutha. So it's up to you if you ever merged or you changed what your name would be. You could be like Wanganui and Petrie and just become Wanganui Petrie if that ever happened. I'm currently calling Whakatane Town and Edgecombe. I think I'm calling you both together. So all of those traditions, is it about closing clubs? Absolutely not. But during this process, and it's never been a new process, I do track club numbers, and I have had to go to people and go, hey, your numbers are really low. How can we help you? What can we do with you? And I do that all over New Zealand. This is just a normal on my job list. Go each month, go and check clubs, go and check the membership, send out emails, ask for help. So it's not about closing clubs. Is it about reducing events? Absolutely not. We want all of those events to continue. We want, or enough events to continue. We want to really support our branches, our clubs with the consistencies, our branches and clubs. But if you ever merged or if you ever closed, what happens with your assets? Well, you guys are the prime example. Your assets stay within your area. As you know, when I first came in, Turangi had closed, but it was an ongoing process, and those assets have stayed within the area. Turangi was a little bit of a technical one, because there was quite a bit of assets, and the registrar got involved because Turangi had kind of disappeared slightly, and so some of the assets actually went outside of Pony Club into other projects within the area. That normally does not happen. Assets stay in Pony Club for Pony Club. Yeah, Gabby.
Sorry, so we're one of those ones in Tauranga that will have some complications with regards to assets and leases, because our club is Tauranga, which has the I don't entirely understand how it works with the council, but we have McLaren's Falls, and up there, Tauranga Pony Club has a whole lot of assets, but then what do they get dispersed between our branches if Tauranga ceases to exist? Or
so you're actually not complicated because it's already in place. So in Wellington, and it happened in 2012, so all of this time we've had a structure called Battle Hill Eventing. It's on Battle Hill Domain, and the Pony Club owns all of the cross country jumps. They own the building, they own everything up there. They are their own separate to the side incorporated society. Battle Hill Eventing is an incorporated little group by itself, but the members of it are the 4 pony clubs that put the money into the assets. So that is something that can already happen through affiliations. So you could keep McLaren's, so it could be called McLaren's Falls Eventing. So the venue is McLaren's Falls. All the assets that you own and everything are McLaren's Falls Eventing, and the members are the 4 pony clubs or the Bay of Plenty, whatever pony clubs you want. And it's just like a little to the side sub-organisation affiliated to New Zealand Pony Club.
right. So essentially we'd still need a committee of sorts that would manage that?
So it's well, basically the committee is the members. So in your situation, Katikati would be a member, Otomoto Tupuna would be a member, Gretton would be a member, Papamoa would be a member, and you just have a little sub-executive committee like you've probably got now going, who's interested in it, who's carrying it on. So it does have to be a little bit managed, but we can work with you on that. So it is a possibility because we've already got it. It's already happening today, and it's something that other branches in the South Island are looking at as well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Will you be able to host events? Absolutely. All of those everyday running of your clubs and your intermediate layer remain the same. Events, camps and everything should not be affected really by removing a layer. Unless you do, it depends what layer you're moving, and it depends on, like we've had a lot of questions, well, how will eventing champs happen? Well, we're currently reviewing eventing champs because eventing champs of old and eventing champs of today are quite drastically different. We want to have eventing champs, but it's more so of looking at those riders having NQSs and removing barriers and letting them go. Next year, potentially eventing champs in the Hawke's Bay, because they're a smaller area and still establishing themselves after the devastation of their cyclone, they are actually going to run eventing champs in line with eventing Hawke's Bay alongside their event, but it's still going to be the big event focus is going to be eventing champs. So that they're just looking at a different way and going, we're going to run with the eventing group to help us out. So it's not just a pony club. Why now? Well, this was really interesting, and it was in 2010, 2011. So once again, we've got some historical people in this room who were there. The incorporated societies came in and Pony Club went down that track of being incorporated, and we all had to sign our lives away. I was Katikati branch president at the time. At the same time, the board wasn't a board, it was called a committee of management. So one representative, I think, from each area, and they went on tour to talk about becoming a board of 5 elected and 2 appointed members. At the same time, they were trying to remove the club layer. They decided not to and focused on the board after feedback from their members, so listening. And then it's always been on the topic after that. We've always had people come to us and go, when are you going to look at it again? We really want you to look at it. Come on, remove a layer. All our exit surveys, we know people only do surveys when they, if they have something to say, but it's often volunteer burnout, too many committees, just can't do it anymore. That's the feedback. So we thought, why not? Why not bring it to the people, ask the members, and we go with it or we don't. So we're definitely following this democratic process, but I know there's urgency in getting your feedback. That is our biggest thing. Did we get that chat? Yeah, okay. Well, the next slide, because this is the one. Start to go into your areas. This is what are the area boundaries still what they need to be today? And that's what Kate brought up. Yeah, on the facility review, Taupo is in the Waikato for facilities review. Under Equestrian Sports New Zealand and ourselves, it's under the Bay of Plenty. I'm not too sure what it's under Sports BOP, under the regional councils for sports. So those are the conversations. I have to be honest here, we've had some suggestions that our central area of the middle of the North Island is not right anymore because of roading. So I've had someone suggest to me that does King Country, Taihape, Timberlands and Taupo, is that a new area? And it's just out there. Is that a central plateau area? Is it is it there? But we're not coming in and going, this is what we're suggesting. We're just putting it on the table, the suggestions that have been there. Is your branch or club youth focused and providing for the purpose of Pony Club? Sometimes they're not. I'm not saying you are, but sometimes we've got a whole group of adults not doing certificates and who are a group of riders but accessing grazing because the Pony Club's got grazing but not offering any certificates or the purpose of Pony Club. This is also thinking about, does my branch or club have enough members to operate? Unfortunately, I was with an Auckland group last week and they sat there and went, well, this year we're great, but next year we're losing a whole family and university students, and the council actually wants to put men's shed on. So we're really stuck whether we should actually try to keep going or should we just merge now? And then also, is your branch or club in the right area? Is it time to move to a different area? And this has been particularly a conversation in Auckland, where Papatoi Pony Club is on the start of the road, 5 minutes away on the same road as Ardmore Pony Club, and that's in Franklin Thames Valley. And you're basically gone in a straight line. So it's those discussions that have been had. Same with down in the Wellington area. You know, they've got a big fancy new road, and people are going, should we be in Wellington now? Is it closer for us to be there? So there are discussions that you and your clubs and branches can have. And anytime a club wants to go, Am I in the right area? How do I go about that? You come and have a conversation with me and we start the process. I can't say that there's any formula that you'll take money from your area, like a dowry to the new area. That would all be negotiation, and you just might want to go, actually, it's time to move, and we're moving. Yeah. So this is the purpose of Pony Club, and it will be in all our constitutions. We feel that this is quite clear because it really talks about the youth. It talks about amateur sports. It talks about training of members. So that's our riders and you guys, our coaches and examiners. It talks about it being a system through certificates. It talks about youth. It talks about all Pony Club events, be it camps, tetrathlon, quiz, vaulting, games, anything. It talks about health and safety. And so this will be in every constitution. And so when we're sitting here, check, is that what I'm doing? Check, that's what we're doing. This is exactly what our purpose is. So if your purpose is not in here as a collective group, are you there for the purpose of New Zealand Pony Club? Okay, so currently in a 4-layer system and to our proposed 3-layer system, we have a national level. So the national body, people often say, so what do you do? So New Zealand Pony Club at the national body level sets the visions, the values and strategy for Pony Club across New Zealand. It ensures consistency in the standards, oversees the national competitions, manages our national partnerships, maintains policies and frameworks, including safety, education, and certification pathways. At the club level, like I just talked about before, which is branch or club at the moment, the purpose. This is the foundation of the Pony Club experience. This is where the rider spends the majority of their time. They receive their instruction, they walk toward their certificates, and this is where they build their community. This is where they have their role models and aspirations. This is where they focus on regular rallies, coaching, and we're developing safe and valuable riders, volunteers, and horses. So it's felt that removing an administrative layer of incorporated societies would reduce the volunteer burden. How many of you on this call are on branch, club, and area committee? Anyone?
Yeah.
Jane? Jenny? Yeah. That was probably my biggest thing pre-COVID, the time that I was going to a bay meeting that used to be in Rotorua, and on the way home woke up as I was heading to a bridge. So I was like, no, that was my moment of, no, I can't do this anymore from one side of the bay to the other. So Jane and Jenny, do you have questions, or no, you're just putting your hand up because I asked?
Oh, just because you asked. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
So if we were looking at one administrative layer of Pony Club, and we've taken out now the word club and cluster, club, no, hub
Cluster.
and cluster. We're still thinking of that, but a lot of our feedback has been that that our areas want to retain our area. Our people like our area structure. So we're calling it just an administrative layer, and that's open to you guys to decide what you like in your area. But that's that governance and oversight. That's where it's the intermediary between the club and national body. But saying that, you can always come to us at any time. You can be a branch and come to us for questions. We do not mind. We are here to support you, and we're trying to also build a really amazing facility, resources on our website. So, to go there and have a look, and we've got an A to Z in development and all of these cool things. So, you can find the information, because a new website, unfortunately, doesn't have a great search history. So sometimes the searches don't come up with any results, websites. So we're looking at the development and support. This is the extension of the rider, including area champs, area training camps, talent pathways, potentially inter-club events and activities, resource sharing, and this is sometimes where you could have resources across multiple clubs, best practice forums, offering that committee members the shared governance and that operational knowledge to look at that club administration. So that would be within the 3 layers, and the 4 layers you'd have national, and that club and branch level kind of have a merge in it in there currently. Okay, so let's get on to the fun stuff. This is you guys. This is the Bay of Plenty. So this is your current figures, well, your figures as of March 2025. These are the figures for the annual report. So another plus for me, I've already got the figures for the annual report. Don't have to worry about it in July, just before printing. Already done. So this is how you guys are sitting at the moment. And so your voting at our AGM is on your under 25 members. So you guys last year, you had an increase of about 60 members last year. So your total was in the 400s. So there you go. So based on that, some of you, currently are a little bit small, but we know that you go around and it gets higher and then it gets lower. We've got a couple that have got horse masters, and yeah, there you go. So this is how you're currently structured. As I said before, no one in the country is the same. So you've got a mix of clubs by themselves, 2 clubs by themselves, and then you've got 3 clubs with branches.
It's funny just seeing that we're up there with ours at Oronui with 29. We don't actually see those numbers at rallies though. Like much of the time we're probably only getting, I don't know, Jenny, you on here? Jenny Nelson? Yeah, we'd probably only get, I don't know, maybe 10 out of that 29 at rallies. Our events are different. We'd see most of our members coming down for events, but rallies are often in small numbers.
And I guess that's some of the things, like people have said to us, that with their rallies, they share rallies, and they're being smarter with their rallies or opening their rallies up to other people. Now you can always share your rallies. You just need to have the head coach's permission of your branch or club, that if you're going to another rally, you just need to have that permission. It's just part of the formalization. And another thing you can always do, if you've got children at school or university, they can actually go and have rallies at another completely different area as well. That's always been in the Constitution, in the general regs. So yeah, so it's about being smarter. And I see that, Greta, and you have a lot of shared rallies and a lot of invites to people to come to your rallies. So we were talking about that at the South Island Coaches Conference last year, those shared rallies, being smarter. Yes, Marion.
Hi, sorry, I think you just said, are those numbers just being pulled off Nominate?
Nope, they were pulled off in March 2025. Yeah, so earlier this year.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, so we pull our numbers in March for our annual reporting, because our financial year, it's a set time that I have to pull them. Yeah. Okay, so that's what you currently look like, spread from way over here all the way down there. And so now what we're going to do, the next slides are just examples. Like, I know the Bay of Plenty, been there, lived there. So these are just examples. So I really need you to understand that, because you'll look at it and go, what did she do to us? And it's definitely not what I'm doing. It's just what could happen. Okay. So this is an example only, and this is the type of thing as if you were retaining your area. Bay of Plenty is a second layer. So we've had a lot of areas say to us, our area is functional, it's working really well, it's there, it's doing our purpose, we really love it, we want to retain it. So, and we all go to meetings, back on that we're going to the meetings, we're being active. We've got to be honest, we've got some areas that are like, we're not going to our meetings. We're not doing all of that. So we'll look at different options. But if you do that, it's, whatever you do, you're committing to, as a club or a branch, to going to those meetings, to supporting your area. So if you were retaining your second layer and all of your current clubs, so your Opotiki and Te Puke, they stay exactly as they are, no changes, but all I've done here is taken out that layer of Rotorua district, Taupo district, Tauranga district, Whakatane district, and put all the branches on the same line as being standalone clubs like Te Puke and Opotiki. Now, for this, people go, oh, but we really like the name of Tauranga, or I really like the name of Taupo. What are the options? Well, that is up to you. So you're going to just go to the next slide. This could be where you have some conversations and go, actually, in Rotorua, once again, only an example, we really like Rotorua, and Makoia and Nongataha, they go, well, we're actually a little bit smaller and we'd like to be Rotorua Pony Club, and we're going to be one club, but we're going to have different venues. Now, New Zealand Pony Club is nomadic. You do not have to have a named venue. So if you lose your grounds, yeah, I know that's really tragic and really awful, and will help and try and write you a really good letter to council, or put you in with touch with some people. But you don't have to have a permanent ground. You could go to the beach, you could go to all these different places and still operate Pony Club. So as I said previously, in Monganui, when they became Monganui, their council was really supportive and they let them keep Kaitaia and Awanui, and they have rallies at both places. So this is just an example. Dana, I think potentially you said you might be looking at
Yeah, so
that
Hamilton's looking at the
in the
same
future.
thing. Yeah, so they've got 4 branches in Hamilton. 3 of them are rather smaller in numbers, so they are definitely looking at doing the merger up to Hamilton, but keeping the listed venues. Again, one of the venues has a lease deal, and funny enough, it is actually called Gordington Pony Club that the lease deals with, but it's actually Gordington branch. Yeah. They've already engaged, my understanding is they've already engaged with the council, and the council's quite happy that it remains as a pony club. So so Hamilton's very much looking at.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. Any clauses that are currently, any leases or anything that are currently in your incorporated societies, they continue over. It's a grandfather clause. So our legal team have looked at that, and grandfather clausing is within the incorporated society. So if you just changed your name from Gordington to something else, as in Gordington Pony Club, but you're the same identity and the same purpose, the grandfather clauses come in. So there was a question from Kylie.
Yeah, the question that she's asked is, how do clubs manage the cost of coaching when another member comes into your branch or club?
I like that, Jenny. You say we suck it up and hope other clubs reciprocate, or you charge them.
Just charge a ground fee. Yes. Yeah.
I know a club, and I know a club that it doesn't charge any membership fees. It charges a base membership fee, but it has a rally fee. So every time you go to a rally, they pay a rally fee instead of an overall fee. So if I'm going to that rally, it's $20 or things like that, and that's what they've decided works for them. So every club is completely different. Yeah, so this model here again is, if you were retaining that second layer, if you were, retaining that second layer being the area, and this is a mix of branches becoming a merged club with different venues. I think I even did that, sorry, I did that over here to Tauranga Greaton, just to show that, who did I went OTP, no, to keep the name, I went Tauranga Greaton to show that historical. Oh, but I did do that. I did merge Te Puke and Papamoa, because I thought, they're kind of close. They're different. That one's a club and one's together. But these are the conversations that we would be having with you if this structure comes in. So tonight we're only showing the proposal. If this came in, we'd be having these big conversations. Laura.
Oh yes, I'm wearing kind of two hats at the moment. I'm president of Kawerau, so my first question would be,
well done, you
as
got
an
your numbers, great.
example, where you say some branches merge. So, for example, if we were to merge with, say, Marion's Club Whakatane Edgecombe, Kawerau own their own land, we would still hold all of our assets, and we could still retain that right as the venue of the Kawerau Pony Club grounds, if you like, and then the Whakatane. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, you own your own land. Well, so your pony club owns your own land. So historically, it's pony club land. So we would be doing everything within the powers to keep pony club assets, and that's a massive asset within pony club. So because that's a massive asset. So you've got an OTP, you own your land too. So we'd want to see that venue being retained and not being, I guess, if you closed, it would be sold and all of those things because it's an asset of pony clubs from the history of pony clubs. So that asset would stay in the Bay of Plenty, preferably as land versus money being distributed around the Bay of Plenty. So yeah, you'd hold your land. Whakatane, they would have conversations to make sure that they can stay where they are, and you'd have multiple venues, and you'd have to make sure that you had the budgetary and the visions to say, we've got this budget, it contains it's enough to maintain the property, but the property is also creating income. So I guess, do you have grazing?
Yes, we do.
So you just have to be like, you'd have bank accounts that were set for separate things, like, you have a savings bank account and an event bank account, and it would work like that.
So our financials are our two separate financials would become one.
Yeah, and
Yes, yeah.
What's happening now also is, in the new constitution, no matter what the structural layer is, unless you've got assets, a yearly turnover, I think it's 3 million, you can be reviewed, not a full audit. So that's a big positive.
Okay. And my second question is Te Puke Papamoa. Papamoa obviously have the lease of that land with the council. So if they merge, again, I guess the same question, right? They merge with Te Puke, they'd still hold that lease and have the two areas.
You'd have to check it out with your councils, because I don't know your council arrangements. I know that Taronga Racecourse is a bit iffy, but I don't know about the councils there. And that was only an example based on, I know that they're quite close. If that happened, back here and back to this layer here. So if you ended up saying goodbye to your club, because that's probably someone's next question, if you had Rotorua and Rotorua is no longer here, what happens to the Rotorua funds? What happens to the Taupō funds? What happens to the Tauranga funds? What happens to the Whakatane funds? So what would happen to those funds, like anything, if that was being merged, that was now going, and these were all going by themselves? We've had two suggested options. That's a 5-way split versus on assets, or it's based on membership numbers. We add up your membership numbers and go, we've got 100 people, so each 100 under 25, so each under 25 equals so many dollars, and it's distributed that way. The only thing with that, it doesn't take into the fact that it's the cycle of pony clubs going up and down. So there's been two trains of thoughts on that. If you were going by yourself and you had assets within these clubs at the top, vice versa, if you were going upwards, so if you were all merging, then your assets just merge together, and that's currently what happens in a merger. Yeah. Charlene and then Marion.
Yeah, it just regards us having our own grounds, owning it.
if we 4 branches were to merge into Tauranga as one club, how would you guys help us protect our land staying in the club and not being sold? Yeah.
Your land would never be sold unless you got to the point where you could no longer continue and no one, as in Tauranga, we would help you as much as possible and go, that becomes the obvious venue. I know the history of OTP. I know how it was there. I know the people who helped set it up right at the beginning. So we'd do everything possible that stayed as a pony club venue, 100%, grow it, do whatever, help you out, retain it, have an equestrian centre, whatever was there before the option of getting rid of an asset like that happened.
Cool, that sounds good.
Marion?
Just, you mentioned the grandfathering clause. So if we merged but retained the separate or incorporated society, so for example, the Whakatane example, if we decided to be the Whakatane Kawerau Pony Club, but our lease for our Whakatane branch land is under Whakatane branch, so you just kept that running as its own incorporated society. It's got grazing, and Kawerau did the same. Then could you still run like you're a club, but keep those financials kind of running along to avoid triggering, like for us, triggering issues with our lease, because our lease is with a certain district council.
I seriously don't know. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know what your councils do, but you've got the numbers to be by yourself anyway. So both Whakatane branches are there. So you've already, but you could go. I see what you're saying though about not having the club, but you could keep that historically, or you could go there together. You could go separate, like on the diagram, or you could try and merge, but then you'd have to get some advice about what the council would and wouldn't do. I don't know if it would be like the Northland Council that would go absolutely or not, or they're like, oh, that's prime land, we want it.
So instead it would be better just to kind of have informal cooperation. It's so to use the venues and things like that to support each other without necessarily doing anything else.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Well, so if you were talking about, you're talking about some clubs who might be struggling with volunteer burnout or organising events having enough coaches, blah blah blah. So if you were in that position, that would be an option, like I guess we can do now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can do it now. Like Greta at the moment is inviting all Taurangers to go to their rallies, aren't you, Gabby? I've seen it on the Facebook page. And so that's also, that's a benefit within the Tauranga area, and saying, you come to our rallies. You're welcome to come to our rallies. We want to get more members in. We want to, it's not stealing members, it's supporting members. If we think of that positive aspect, you could do that. You could just even say, hey, Kaurau, we've got we're separated. We're no longer under the Whakatane district, but that historical relationship's there. So, hey, why don't we actually still carry on and have our inter-club events still the same way? We'll still have our Bay of Plenty Championship Gymkhana, and kids will still wear their colours, but without the formalized club structure above it, and go, okay, let's, like, I think back to my days as DC, and I think we're a lot smarter now. We had one Tauranga rider for her C+. We didn't hold the certificate for her. She's now 24 with no certificate. But people are now being smarter and going, let's actually work together and see who else has got those, and just if people are prepared to travel in that. So I think we've got a lot smarter, and it's just taking that layer out and going, okay, you run this event now, you run this event then, and being working together cooperatively.
Is Edgecombe the one that holds the lease currently for the land, or is it Whakatane
It's Whakatane Town Branch.
Whakatown.
that hold the lease?
Yeah.
That hold the lease.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think just what Lizzie said, it would be a matter of working with the council and seeing how they'd want to progress with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just following on from that, when you're talking about clubs working together, if the Bay Area itself doesn't exist as a, formalized
I'll-
committee.
I'll go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So that's another option.
Yeah. So if it didn't, things like cooperation on things like certificate sitting, especially at those higher levels, how would that be coordinated?
So currently that certification is here in the Bay of Plenty, at those higher levels. So if you went down to this layer, then I've got Easter Bay versus Eastern Bay. Oh, sorry. Eastern Bay or Central Bay, and this is just me playing, or Western Bay or splitting down the middle. It would be up to them to organise some of those certificates and those levels. So if you felt that you were splitting into smaller areas or clusters or hubs, that's what you'd look like at then. So you've actually now your area as it was, you've got more people working in that administrative layer between New Zealand Pony Club and your club. So back in this model, you've got Bay of Plenty, and you've got all of these people saying, yes, we're going to come up here. Because remember, if you're in this blue line, then you've got one person being a delegate to the Bay of Plenty. So all of these people are coming up and helping with Bay of Plenty, no matter what. So Rotorua, these two merged ones here, they've only got one person going there, but these other ones have all got one person coming to Bay of Plenty. Bay of Plenty is kind of like a super area because it's got all of these helpers committed to helping and help running. So from being back here where you are traditionally, of having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 representative clubs coming to Bay of Plenty, potentially Bay of Plenty could look like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 people strong. Or it could look, more than the 6 because you've got a few mergers. Where if you went to this model and you split your area into smaller hubs and clusters, so an Eastern Bay cluster or a Central Bay cluster or a Western Bay cluster, they all have to do a little bit more work. So basically in the Western Bay, if you think about it, it was basically Tauranga Pony Club, but just adding in potentially a Te Puke or something. And Central Bay is where Rotorua and Taupo are more working together. And maybe that's not what you want. I don't know. So that's why we're just giving you some different examples. In a massive area of Otago Southland, some people have suggested and said, Otago Southland is massive. You saw it on that picture. It's basically most of the bottom of the North Island, that Otago and Southland be central hubs, because underneath them they've still got like 10 clubs versus 20. So it really depends on what your area looks like and what you are wanting out of Pony Club at your club level and then your area level.
Could I just say something for a minute?
Absolutely.
Sure. So I see this as a little bit of a conundrum, because if you look at the area committee and you look at our districts, we've got Rotorua district, we've got Tauranga, we've got Whakatane, and we've got Taupo. And those district pony clubs act as umbrella clubs. And currently they field teams to places, things like Cambridge show jumping, show hunter over the way, and Timberlands when it runs. And obviously those, currently, and games and things like that, right? So those, and individually those branches do not have enough people to field teams to those events, right? So they have to get together. but they are often geographically spread. So yes, they're more than just venues. They run their own rallies, right? So, and they have their own finances. So I see it as a little bit of a conundrum. I mean, how do you see things like Cambridge show jumping, the show hunter and that changing their team eligibility type of criteria where clubs can join together to put a team in?
That they have to think about it, because the way they are currently operating and structured, if they don't make changes, will they survive? And that's in the current situation today. You know, you said about Timberlands. If they don't, will they survive? Even because, you know, there hasn't been. I don't know about for you, Nigel and Rotorua, but fielding full teams hasn't been something that people have been able to do, and removing barriers and getting people to those events. So if Te Puke has 2 members to go, why are we putting in place barriers and going, oh, we can't have a full team because we've got only 2 members? Really different in the South Island, because the South Island has branched. Springston and South Island show jumping are branch events. So Greerton could send 2 people, and they could actually be merged with Edgecombe and Caldwell, and where Caddy Cat might have a full 6. So everyone has to look at the changes, but the focus is if we do everything like we're currently doing, those events like Timberlands will not survive. You know, but had I don't know the ins and outs of it, or I'm not going to get into it, but if they were like, okay, we're prepared to accept 3 Papamoa people, 2 Reparoa people, and we're actually just going to put them into teams, or those guys are all, you know, Tauranga, actually the Tauranga team is made up of a combined team that they've made up of OTP, Papamoa, Katikati and Greeton, just like they would today, but it's no longer Tauranga, just it's a combined team from the Tauranga region. I don't know. We have to have those conversations with those organisers. But we at New Zealand Pony Club, and for our events being Champs Week and eventing teams, we can't traditionally sit there and go, you must send a full Bay of Plenty team. We'll take 1 rider if that's what you've got to reduce those barriers. And area support looks different around the country. I've got an area that charges riders significantly to put the entry in. They pay the coach and the manager. I've got areas that, you know, pay the team entry. I've got areas that pay for everything, and then I've got areas that pay for nothing, but say, yeah, you go and you wear our colours. And as I know out there for our riders, I think it's really important that we let our riders go to those events, because it could be their top moment in Pony Club. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be like Dina that represented New Zealand, but it might be like me, that I got to go to Pony Club Champs in a non-team, because we only had 3 in 1987 for King Country, but it was the highlight of my Pony Club career. So I think we have to think differently, or else I know for New Zealand Pony Club, eventing champs, if we don't think differently, we won't have eventing champs.
Yeah, no, and I agree with all that. I'm just thinking, whilst we're doing this, those other things, those discussions should be happening at the same time, so it's all happening as one picture, and that we're not setting something up. Yeah.
And the other thing,
we're having those discussions. We're having those. We've had some discussions, and and some of those events are very, very traditional and very, very old, and it's like they are hard conversations.
in some of those districts, you can actually, I suppose what we're trying to get everyone to think of here is that are you is it required to, is it a rule and regulation, or does it need to be incorporated society? So I suppose by the picture that Lizzie had put up, by having all of the branches become clubs and losing the district layer, it doesn't mean to say that you necessarily lose the district layer, but you could, those districts could be run just through general regulations rather than having an incorporated society.
Yeah, like
Well, they
Tyler
could,
keeps
but-
popping her hand up.
Well,
Yeah.
they can, but
Like
they
Tana-
can't.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. They
No, you
they
go.
can. I mean, they could, but they couldn't apply for funding. So currently, say Rotorua District, when they're sending teams off to different things and getting coaching and so forth, they can apply for funding. But if you've just got a body that's just an amalgamation, that wouldn't be able to apply for funding. And then so the clubs would then have to do it piecemeal.
Yeah, but you could say this time, Makoya, you've got the majority in there. Can you apply for funding and things like that? One thing was really interesting. At Champs, one of the clubs left their funding application far too long, and it was Franklin Thames Valley, I think, and they ran just a practice day, because practice days are the easiest way to make events with money, because you don't have to have a jumps, you don't have ribbons, and you just have your first aiders. They ran 3 practice days and raised over $2,500 from practice days. 3 practice days. Just putting it out there.
Kyla's got her hand up.
Oh, I've had it up and down every time. I think I should add something.
Sorry.
So just at the moment, though, you're saying that because I'm really glad I'm at Te Puke.
Yeah.
Because we're just going to be Te Puke, thanks. But if, say, using Rotorua as an example, if Rotorua disappeared and there were 4 or 5 of what are now branches become clubs, and you're saying then if you wanted to go to Cambridge Show Jumping or Foxton Show Hunter or whatever, they could use their historic ties to build a team. I think you'd probably get, if it's just a historic time and there's no sort of rules around who builds teams, you're going to get people picking the eyes out of things, and who's mates with who and who's got a good rider, a different one, and it'll get messy. Whereas now, when you've got not enough, you can sometimes, like Foxton Show Hunter, we sent a couple of kids down for the first time forever, and they build a team with all the riffraff left over. But you don't have any say in who you get in your team. I know Rotorua would have liked us in their team time, but it's just who's left over. So you're still making sort of teams, but
there would definitely be regulations.
Yeah.
There would definitely be regulations around it. We don't want to detriment the picking and choosing of teams and things like that. And I absolutely congratulate you, Te Puke. 2 years ago when I went for this role, I looked at the annual report, and you went from 13 to 26 riding members in 1 year. And I think I reached out to your then head coach, or she may still be your head coach, and said, how did you do it? And you really put into place your focus and what you strategically wanted to achieve, and focused on those riders, and you built. So I know that clubs can do it. So yeah, well done. Annabelle?
Yeah, I'll just ask a silly question. I mean, I'm a medic background as far as ED, nursing ED for years. In regards, I suppose one of the things with the ODEs is we had to cancel ours last year. We just didn't have the numbers a week before. And a lot of that is around the medics that we have to have on an ODE day. So that comes from ESNZ, is that correct? So will that ever change? Because I think one of the things is all of a sudden the medic costs have gone up by $1,500 from what an ODE.
It's what's put onto us as a dangerous sport.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's about about 1,500 to get a medic in.
Yeah, ours have been 2,000. Yeah, down here.
And we understand that, and it is because we run under ESNZ rules with ESNZ officials. And you're wonderful being Alan, your lifetime member from last year. He used to always say to me in the car, what's the coroner going to ask you? What's the coroner going to ask? What's the coroner going to ask? That was his key thing. And but it's what's been brought down to ESNZ that they have to operate under. So it's not just regulations. They didn't just sit there and go, oh, let's make it really super expensive for all our members.
No,
It's what's
sure.
been forced down to them. And
Yeah.
you know, we're always looking at it and going, how come us? Because then you hear of events like more dangerous sports like motorsports and things like that, and they haven't got the same regulations. So we're always questioning it, but it depends on the perception. I guess they go, oh well, yeah. So we completely understand, and yeah, kind of
But
So,
we've
so
found
just on that, Annabelle, our costs for our event, and I think we've got Janice on here as well. We're at $4,500
Wow.
for
Ooh.
2
Is that just
days.
for 2 paramedics to be on site?
That's to meet our obligations for 2 days to have a meter 5 course going, or 2.5 basically days. And
Oh,
yeah, and it is starting to impact on our numbers that we're and our viability of running those events. And
Yeah.
and we are
I'm
looking at other things.
well. I'm going to put that back onto our body of work between T&E and health and safety. We have been looking at it, but we will go back and look again. I do sit around a table with the SNZ every now and then, but there's probably not much we can do. And I know Jenny, you're with the schools, and you know, and that those costs with into schools, the schools event, and they're wearing it as well, and it's like it is tough, it is horrible, but we just need to see what else we can do. I'll just pop
But
that on
just
my
getting
list.
back to that with cancelling our ODE, as Jenny, then we had, you know, the idea of putting on a training day, and we made $1,300 profit, you know, and we didn't have to have, so is that the way Pony Club's going? But then it all affects the scores, doesn't it? You know, of
Yeah,
then
or
entering.
you do like we did at Tauranga show jumping. We had an amazing winter series because we knew when we ran our big event we were going to take an $8,000 loss, but our winter work, our winter series, and our practice days, that actually went to be our deficit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so Laura, it's same for motocross. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's to do with health and safety regulations
Yeah,
and about being a
absolutely.
dangerous sport.
Yeah.
Jane, we'll go Jane and then Kayla.
So just like with like your Rotary district and all your all our branches. So if you took out the Rotary district layer, I think probably our biggest concern is possibly funding. We're very, very fortunate that we get funded for every team. We've got funding for 3 sets of ambulances this year. And if you go back down to the club as in like Makura and Ongataha, they don't necessarily have that history with the funding providers. So you may not get what you currently get. I think we've had something like $25,000 funding in the last 12 months that I've applied for.
Well, possibly you
you
could
must
keep
be
the
a
Rotary.
great funding operator.
True.
Sorry?
We need you.
A great fun, yeah. But possibly you could just keep the Rotorua district name then and have those 2 other people merge up to Rotorua or the other venues, and you know, have them as venues. That's what you could possibly do.
They're quite far apart though.
Oh, okay,
like
yeah.
River Kaiti and all of that. Yeah. So I guess this is all that discussion that you guys have to have as a group, and like you know, if you feel strongly when you're having your say, you say that you prefer to have the 4 layer, but you know, I'm just looking at the numbers here. It all goes round and round and roundabouts, and with funding, I know I love the fact that you've done well, Jane. If you're feeling that you couldn't go, Makoya couldn't fund for themselves, and Nongataha couldn't fund, and Reparo couldn't fund, and Rewhakaiti couldn't fund, and Waikiki Valley couldn't fund, or you still, oh no, because you've got to do it like that.
Go to the
I'm just
last
trying to
slide, Lizzie, because then Rotorua possibly could stay up as
Yeah, like
the
here.
next one. Yeah, so Rotorua could possibly just stay as
Well, you could even split and be 4. You could be 4, and that's what in historical Hawke's Bay, they're Hiratonga Pony Club, the first pony club. So they really want to keep their Hiratonga history. So, you know, they're potentially looking at more this model where it's, I've got Central Bay here. Imagine that's your Hiratonga with only the Hiratonga branches underneath. So you could easily as well go NZPCA Rotorua, NZPCA Taupo, or Taupo moves to the central plateau. I don't know. There's all of those options. You have to decide functionality wise, if we were looking at a 3-layer structure, what works for you. Now, if a 3-layer structure is voted in, it will be everyone goes to a 3-layer structure. It's not an optional 3 or 4-layer structure. It is 3-layer. If it's not voted in and you guys give us feedback to say we oppose this and we want to stay the way we are, you've always got that ability to do this at any time anyway. And I know in Tauranga Pony Club last year, we had the big conversation about about Tauranga Pony Club, and it goes through ebbs and cycles, and you know, but you've got to have people to step up to all of those committees and fill all of those roles. Now, actually on this, and I'll come back to you in a minute, Kayla, I'm not sure if you're aware that in your committees, there's only one position that can be shared, and it's the secretary and treasurer. So in the club, you do not need a president, you need a DC, but any other committee, it's only the position of secretary and treasurer that can be shared. And I don't know what you guys have got, but I've seen it all around the country, and you go in there and you're like, okay, I've got a president who's a head coach, or I've got a DC who's a head coach, and people say, why can't we have that? It's because the DC and the head coach are independent of each other, because they're the ones that sign off for certificates and teams. So suddenly, if you've got one person being the DC and the head coach, there's no independence. So I'm just popping it out there. So we're looking at, you know, supporting in those full positions. Kayla.
Is that Kyla?
Kyla, sorry. Yeah, do you have a question?
Are you on mute, Kyla?
How's that?
There
Better?
she is.
So Jane already more or less covered it when you said, you know, if Rotorua had all these little clubs and they had turns at getting the funding, I'd be pretty wary about that. They always ask, you know, you probably all know about how many people are in your club, how many members, what ethnicities they are, and if you're just one little incorporated thing, you're going to have a less of an impact, and you won't be able to say I'm applying for the whole thing, because you are only one little entity. The other thing was with the train, you know, you said do a training day and you raise some monies. Well, yes, that's true, because it's just that cost of those medics, really. The other costs are insignificant compared to the medic costs. So are we all just going to start running training days and then there won't be any competitions? And the other one was I think you sort of covered it then, was you know, you're sort of saying you can make all the branches into clubs, you can do away with the districts, you can leave Bay of Plenty there, or you can have several that sort of fit that category. Can we not just, and you're also saying that everyone can choose themselves what they want to do. Well, isn't that kind of what we've already got? You know, they can merge to be one club. There's a Bay of Plenty. Do we have to make it 3 or 4 if people want to have a district, or they don't want to have a district? Can they just sort it out themselves?
So currently, our proposal is that New Zealand Pony Club goes to 3 layers, and everyone would be 3 layers. So what that looks like after the vote, if people want to be 3 layers, is then sitting here and going, okay, what works for Bay of Plenty? and having a democratic conversation and a vote and going, okay, well, Bay of Plenty is going to look like this. What we know of Bay of Plenty is going to look like this, and we work with you on that. So we don't want to come in and tell you exactly what it looks, because we want you to have a say in what it looks. So if you want to keep the ability with what you've got now of the choice of having your club branch area, when you do the exit survey, which I'm going to show you soon, you will vote no, you're opposed to it and you want to retain the current structure. So remember, we've only taken this from feedback based on, I can only remember one of your other questions, and that was about events. Of course, we want you to run events, because events tie into, you need to, when the kids get older and they need to go to the higher events, they need qualification scores. So my suggestion of running a practice day was only running practice days to help you recoup some of the costs that your event would, your event where you needed medical cover, which we've just talked about being expensive, would help you recoup that. But yes, that's more events, and that would be more work for your committee. So I was just giving a suggestion for that. And sorry, there were lots of questions in there, and I didn't write them down, so I'm sorry.
It's all good. But yeah, you covered that last bit too. You know, it's all say make a practice day to pay for your real event, but that's doubled your workload, and we're really trying to not do that.
No, and that was only a suggestion. You talked about, it was talked about being the cost. So I just suggested it because an area did it for their team when they went to eventing champs, because they didn't get funding. Instead of doing funding, they operated practice days as an alternative to help their rider out. Okay, we've got two more people. Marion?
I just want to make sure I clarify so I take it back to our committee correctly. So basically, currently we have a 4-layer structure.
Correct.
Yes.
And the proposal is to move it to 3 and basically remove the districts. So possibly it's one, that's one option.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There could be one option, or it could be removing districts and areas. Or is that not on the table? I'm just making sure I'm clear.
It's still got to be 3 layers. So if you look up on, if you all look up on here, so you've got New Zealand Pony Club.
Yeah.
And you've got, I'll go back one. So whatever would fit into the structure here, you've got a national body and you've got your club that your child goes to, the pony club. What is the layer above it? So is that going to be a kind of a club structure and no area? Is that going to be a mix and match, kind of like a couple of you together? So Rotorua could be that, and the rest of you stay in Bay of Plenty. And that's what I was chatting about before with Hiratonga. So you've got national, one form of administrative layer, and then your club layer where your children goes to Pony Club. Perfect. Jane?
Sorry, I probably put my hand up by mistake. I don't need my hand up anymore.
Okay. So I'm just going to so what next? The time won't run out. Don't worry. It says 5 minutes, but it won't run out. It's just to keep us on track. No. So as we said, this is a consultation phase. So we're wanting all your feedback. Now your feedback, the deadline is the end of May, and that feedback will help us shape the final version. So and then the final vote would take place in August at the AGM, and then we will know in July what constitution we're bringing to you. And if we are bringing to you a 3-layer structure, alongside it will be the guides of how we're doing it. Would be talking with more depth to the events, because we don't want to see events go, and be all consultation of those events. Remembering those events are events under New Zealand Pony Club umbrella. So they will reflect what our structure is. I'm just going to jump out of this so I can take you to the next part. So New Zealand Pony Club, if you're looking for all the information, and now my internet's going to be really slow. Come on. Okay, so on our website, if you're anytime looking for the resources for this, all the resources are under the constitutional update. Under here, there is everything you need. There are all the previous area focused meetings with their recordings. So yours is going to be right here, over here. This is the survey we want you to take. Now, you don't need to wait and have a conversation with your branch or your club. We want to know your feedback. So if you click in here, it's completely anonymous if you want it to be. But if you have a question that you need me to answer, I do need your email, because otherwise I won't know who to email back. One thing we do need is what area you're from, and then we just need to know your role, and then do you support the proposed structure? Strongly support, somewhat support, neutral, somewhat opposed, strongly opposed, not sure. Any questions you've got in here can all go into all of the questions. You don't have to fill in anything here, they're not required, and then next. So we definitely need that, because that is going to really shape what the board present to you for your constitution on the 1st of July. And we need that because I've got a board meeting on the 5th of June. It's 5th, isn't it? I keep on saying the wrong dates. This thing here has got, this part here is 22 pages of questions and answers. And if you've got questions tonight and they haven't been answered before, they'll go into here. So 22 pages of questions and answers. You are welcome to email me and ask your questions again. I had a really good set of questions the other day from Cambridge about basically just clarifying what they were voting on or what they were thinking. These are the slides from the introduction. So these are all the proposed changes for the Constitution, because the Constitution as a whole is going to be voted on as a one document. So the disputes process, we're trying to make it clearer, and it's shown here what we're trying to do. So if it's a civil or police matter, we won't be dealing with it at New Zealand Pony Club. So if it's a dispute that's involved the police, they deal with it, not me, because they are the experts. So that is basically one of the big changes. So it's about events, it's about what happens at events, it's about the expectations of our members. And the only other big one there is that we currently have a president, a figurehead of New Zealand Pony Club, David, and that is a leftover from the Committee of Management. It has been proposed that we don't have the president in a formal role, but we look at a New Zealand patron instead. So they are the big changes there. Summaries, and that is really important. So that after this meeting, I will send you the survey link. But if you want to go and do it now, I'd love it. Also, if you're wanting to know a bit more about conference, events, AGM conference, we'd love to see a rep from every club. We know that we'll see some from area. We saw Nigel last year because he got an award. It was great to see you there, Nigel. We'd love to see you. It's in Christchurch. One thing that we've done is we've kept it at a reasonable price. There's no nominate fee. If you're in Christchurch, the AGM is free. It will not be live streamed. Unfortunately, we do not have the capabilities being an organisation with 3 computers. As Jenny could tell you, across the road at Tower on the Park, there is cheaper accommodation, and just down the road even further, there's cheap accommodation. If you want to do a conference registration, it's all there. If you want a funding application, you're doing a funding application, we can provide you with a quote. And I can also write you a really good letter saying about the perks of conference. And as I said earlier, the workshops look amazing. I know that there's lots of people there that are like, oh, we're going to present on this, we're going to present on that. To me, you'll come away knowing so much about Pony Club. So pushing the conference. But back to this timeline before we go. You'll also get the slides, maybe tonight night, maybe tomorrow afternoon. Just depends on what time we finish and happens after this. So the recording, there will be a link on the recording on the notes they just gave you, but as I said, it's on that website there under constitutional update. Oh, it's slow. It's like, no, it's too slow. But our timetable is we need to know what you're feeling, and we need to know that rather soon. Yeah. So if you've got any other questions or comments, please let us know, even right now. Otherwise, we've shared with what we want to share with you tonight. Annabelle, have you got a question? You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Hear you.
So just to clarify, the feedback's got to be by the end of May. Is that correct? As in,
yeah. So you
3 days time.
Yeah,
yes.
like 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So emails will be sent out to our clubs.
No, to all, you should have got an email at the beginning of the week. So I'm sending emails to every single member over 18 in your area. So the current member. So if you've got committee members that are not currently a member on the database, they haven't got the emails. So I do need people to check their database, because my email system is only good as the emails coming that I've got. Also get people to check that if their emails are up to date. Occasionally I get people going, I haven't checked that email for like 10 years. I'm like, well, that's the one your email's going to. So yeah, you'll get an email before the end of business tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and the recording will be on the website. Yep, Kayla. You're muted.
So, just one thing. If we go then, so an option for us could be to have an area type organization that's not incorporated.
Yeah,
if we needed to, if we wanted to keep our second layer as Rotorua, Tauranga, Whakatane, Taupo, or something like that, we could do that, and then have when there's a need for the whole bay to get to work on something, you could have that done by an non-incorporated. Obviously, they wouldn't be able to apply for funding, but if you're trying to change the champs and those sort of things, then the area then is more focused on running running the assessments and so forth and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and if you think of it currently, Nigel, like ESNZ is a completely different structure. So I've only got experience with Tauranga. Tauranga show jumping was incorporated, so it could go for funding. It doesn't run, it runs events, but it's incorporated, so it can go for funding. Tauranga dressage is not incorporated. It doesn't go for funding, but it runs events, local events often, and it can still get sponsorship. So being incorporated doesn't stop your ability to be like a group of collective and focus on the purpose of Pony Club. It just means you can't go for funding. But if you were to run champs and you were only in 2023, if you were to run champs again, then you could look and go, who can go for the funding aspects in here, who can do this in here. Springston Trophy last year is bigger than any eventing champs I've been to, and it was funding and run by one branch, and they got funding and sponsorship over $120,000 because they just had someone active who ran it in that capacity. So we've got Helen. You've got your. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, so that will leave it that. Yeah.
No. You go. Carry on.
I was just saying that if you were going to run an area committee like that, not being incorporated, and you couldn't go for funding, then it would sort of almost defeat the whole purpose. And then why would you want to change?
So maybe you'd only run the area committee when you needed the area committee. And then you'd have to go, what do we need the area committee for that Rotorua, Taupō, and those in that second administrative layer aren't doing. So it depends what the purpose of that administrative layer is, and if that administrative layer is doing what it needs to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're going to drop one, that probably be the one. But yeah.
Yep. Helen, you've been waiting there.
If clubs decide they want to move areas, like for example, it's been spoken about with Taupō being in Waikato or King Country or wherever, who makes that call?
You guys make that call and you have a conversation with me. So if you are a collective group, so I was in the King Country meeting the other day and they'd love people to come and be a central plateau, and they're like, yeah. So what we would do is we'd connect and go, okay, you'd like to think about this, you connect through me, I do the connections, we have a conversation, we go to the board and we have those conversations then and there.
Thank you.
And that can happen anytime. That doesn't have to wait for an incorporated. With that though, you know, the messy parts is funding and things like that, and monetary and all of that. I'm not saying that the area would be giving you money to say, see you later, ka kite, here you go, or you'd be taking some kind of dowry with you, but they would all be conversations as part of it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, but any time that, you know, merging, closing, they're already part of the Constitution. That is not changing. And you'd know historically over time, I know that Taronga used to have 5 clubs. It's now got 4. I'm not sure about your areas, how many have, you know, have closed. Turangi, it closed. Yeah, but for us, Pony Club is strong, and the purpose of Pony Club is alive and well. And hopefully, some of you are coming to Coaches Conference not this weekend, the following weekend. You'll see us all there, and great ideas and great collaboration. Okay, so if you've got no more questions, we're basically done, but we're happy to stay on and chat with you, or as I said, happy to take a phone call anytime. Any other bits and pieces, let us know. Kayla?
Sorry, just me again. I'd just like seeing this as Bay of Plenty, and I'm not sure how the other areas sort of do their area competitions, which is probably for the more younger members, the games and gymkhana and things, that ones that are currently you send a district team to. So if there's no districts, will each, if the districts turn into just clubs, well, the district is a club at the moment, isn't it? So the branches all turn into their own clubs. Would you then have lots of little teams, or yeah, just another concept that I don't think really covered.
Well, Te Puke is currently a club in its own right, and it sends its members and represents the club in that right. So
yes,
just to me, I'd be.
But the other ones that we're normally this tiny little team, and the other bigger ones with lots of branches, you know, have a bigger team. And so will they just be in the same boat then as we always have been? And that's probably a thing that Bay of Plenty can decide themselves, but you guys who are all here can have a think about it.
Yeah, so that's what Bay of Plenty would decide. But, you know, already we've got other areas in the country that are absolutely at the moment all clubs, little clubs with one branch, and they all send, like, if they've got an area event, they all send their teams along. So they might have 6, they might have 7, you know, and things like that. So it would be up to Bay of Plenty, but I did see Jenny just send the branch members along, celebrate. You know, I don't know when the last time, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, that I remember Tauranga had, you know, used to have selection days for dressage and everything, and now it's like trying to get members. But that's historically not just a pony club thing. That's across the country. That's our events. That's the things are going, and we just want to build and celebrate our grassroots riders. And you guys are doing an ultimate job at your branches and clubs and your areas of doing that. So thank you. Yeah, I agree. Let the riders fly. Remove barriers. I'm all for it. I'm all for removing barriers. It's one of my catchphrases. Excellent. Okay, guys. Well, we've really appreciated it. That's Dina, Kelly, and I.
Thank you very much.
Really, really great. But if you have got confusions, please reach out, because you know, we're here to clarify, and it's probably a question or an answer we've already got there. And we want to work with you no matter what, whatever happens. New Zealand Pony Club is, I feel, got a really good focus and a really good strategic mindset of celebrating in our education pathways. So please do that feedback for me, so then we can decide on the structure of Pony Club together. And I think that's our big messaging, and that is why we have committed to 15 nights around the country for these meetings. So thank you so much.
Bye. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
See you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a
Bye.
nice
Thank
night.
you.
And see you
Bye.
around. See you
Bye.
later.
Bye. Thanks.
See you
Yeah.
later, guys. Much
Bye.
appreciated.
Bye. Bye.
See ya.
Have you turned the recording off, Lizzie?
Not yet.
You can start talking now.
Yeah.